Okay, moving on to the story of the Shah of Persia. Remember, Persia is the homeland of Baha'u'llah. First, I will mention two ministers of the Shah that were also responsible for the deaths of many of the early believers. They both suffered tragic deaths. Amir Kabir was the prime minister and very well known for helping his country advance with many public works projects and helping with the advancement of education. But he also signed death warrants for many of the early believers, and thousands died because of him. The Amir became so popular that the Shah felt threatened, and in 1852 the Shah ordered him to be killed. The Amir ended up killing himself by cutting his wrists instead of being assassinated. There is quite a story surrounding this event and is well known in the history of Iran. This is another tragic ending for someone who killed followers of the faith of Baha'u'llah. The Shah was only 21 at the time, and his mother influenced many of his decisions. His mother hated Baha'u'llah, but one of the reasons he did not assassinate him was that Baha'u'llah and his family were well respected in Iran. Baha'u'llah's father actually helped the Shah to attain his throne. The other leader that I would like to mention is the notorious Mujtahid Sayyid Sadiq, denounced by Baha'u'llah as the liar of Tehran. He was the author of the monstrous decree condemning every male member of the Baha'i community in Persia, young or old, high or low, to be put to death. The decree by him also includes that all its women be deported. Soon after these decrees were made, he was suddenly taken ill and fell prey to a disease that ravaged his heart, his brain, and his limbs, and precipitated eventually his death. In 1852, the Shah put Baha'u'llah into the well-known Siachal. This is known as the Black Pit. It was a type of a dungeon sewer for criminals in Tehran. After reading the descriptions about this place, I can't imagine a more horrible place to be imprisoned. Because the Shah was afraid to assassinate Baha'u'llah, he instead decided to banish Baha'u'llah to Baghdad, which was then part of the Ottoman Empire. Baha'u'llah's letter to the Shah was written in 1869 and was delivered by a young follower named Badi, who was tortured and killed when he arrived in Tehran. Baha'u'llah chastised the Shah for this. A year later, Persia suffered a horrible famine that ravaged Persia and reduced the population to such extremities that even the rich went hungry. Baha'u'llah called this Shah the Prince of Oppressors. The Sultan and his ministers also instigated the banishment of Baha'u'llah to Constantinople, Adrianople, and Akka. Nasiruddin Shah persecuted Baha'is his whole life, beginning in 1848. In 1896, the Shah organized a jubilee which was to go down as the greatest day in the history of Persia. The night of the jubilee, before sunset in a garden near the palace, the Shah was assassinated by a gunshot. The ministers were so afraid to announce his death that they mounted and stabilized the dead Shah in a coach and paraded him through the streets anyway. The people were not aware that the Shah was even dead. The stories surrounding this faith are just unending, very interesting and beautiful. After the death of Nasiruddin Shah, the Qajar dynasty only lasted another 20 years, ending 2 centuries of domination. The letter to this Shah is very long, so I will only share a few excerpts. Baha'u'llah opens the letter with demands, saying that the Shah needs to listen to him and treat his subjects with justice.
O King of the earth, hearken unto the call of this vassal. Those who follow their corrupt desires and lay aside the fear of God are indeed in grievous error. I adjure thee by thy Lord, the all-merciful, to look upon thy servants with the glances of the eye of thy favor, and to treat them with justice, that God may treat thee with mercy.
In the history of religion, all of the leaders of the major religions had an experience when they either talked to God or received a revelation in some form or another. In this experience, they were given a mission. Just like the story of Moses and the burning bush, Jesus and the dove, Muhammad and the angel Gabriel, Baha'u'llah had a mystical experience where he received a revelation telling him that he was special amongst all men and was given a mission to carry out. This experience happened when he was put in the Black Pit in Tehran in 1852, as I mentioned earlier, called the Siachal. He describes this intimate moment in his own words.
I was but a man, like others, asleep upon my couch, when the breezes of the All-Glorious were wafted over me, and taught me the knowledge of all that hath been. And he bade me lift up my voice between earth and heaven. For this there befell me what hath caused the tears of every man of understanding to flow. His all-compelling summons hath reached me, and caused me to speak his praise amidst all people. I was indeed as one dead, when his behest was uttered. The hand of the will of thy Lord, the compassionate, the merciful, transformed me.
Continuing his dissertation, Baha'u'llah advises the Shah to listen to him. Baha'u'llah refers to himself as a nightingale.
This thing is not from me, but from one who is almighty. I swear by God, O king, wert thou to incline thine ear to the melodies of that nightingale, thou wouldst find thyself raised up to the summit of exaltation and glory, and elevated to the pinnacle of majesty and independence. Thus hath the decree been recorded in the mother book by the pen of the All-Merciful. O king, wert thou to incline thine ear unto the shrill of the pen of glory, thou wouldst regard thy sovereignty as the most contemptible of thy possessions.
When Baha'u'llah says shrill of the pen of glory, it is a metaphor concerning his scribes who used quills and ink and paper. Writing with a quill made a shrilling sound and could be heard from quite a distance. Imagine 6 or 7 of them. Okay, I would like to depart a little bit from the theme and share with you how Baha'u'llah actually revealed his scriptures. Typically, when Baha'u'llah was about to reveal his holy writings, he would announce to his scribes that it was time to reveal the holy word. The scribes would gather their quills, paper, and ink and write down what he would say, and later Baha'u'llah would verify if they were correct and would stamp his seal on the document. We are told that Baha'u'llah would speak for extended periods of time at a fairly rapid pace. He would sometimes use up to 7 scribes just so they could capture the large amount of spoken text. All of the scribes had quills and ink, and the noise of all those pens was quite impressive. This is one of the reasons Baha'u'llah uses this metaphor. Sometimes Baha'u'llah did write in his own script without scribes and put his own seal on it. But remember, Baha'u'llah wrote more than 20,000 tablets, books, and letters, just an enormous amount of literature. We are told that during those years, Baha'u'llah never corrected himself. He simply would speak, and it was written down. At times, he would repeat a phrase or sentence that was already revealed in another tablet. What is amazing is that he would repeat exactly what he said, even if it was decades after it was revealed the first time. The Shah apparently did not read the letter, but left that to his religious staff. I was told that the high quality of prose that Baha'u'llah wrote in was too much for the Shah to understand. The clergy ended up telling the Shah that the letter had no value. Okay, so this is how the story of the Shah went. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to move on to some more letters.